in next 12 minutes the role of PET-CT in chronic heart failure. Uh, always as I has told you in the initially also, heart failure is not a disease. It's a complex of clinical syndrome that results from any structural or functional impairment of ventricular filling or ejection of blood. Approximately estimated 5 million of patients in US and 15 million of patients in Europe, they are suffering from heart failure or they land up in heart failure. It is a leading cause of hospitalization in elderly people. Despite treatment advances, the mortality rate of heart failure has increased steadily. One of the possible causes could be more number of patients are surviving myocardial infarction because of the better standard care, and consequently they may increase number of patients who subsequently land up in heart failure. Heart failure places a significant burden on patients, carers, and healthcare system. Imaging widely used in decision making in heart failure, not only in relation to left ventricular systolic and diastolic function, it can decide, imaging can decide in the selection of medical versus surgical therapy, intracardiac device in heart failure, and valvular heart disease. Further developments in the care of advanced heart disease, including stem cell therapy versus cardiac transplantation, device therapy, as Dr. Sood has just explained, to control remodeling, then percutaneous valve intervention like TAVR and SAVR and all these things. The epidemic of diabesity, that is diabetes and obesity, will augment the existing epidemic of heart failure in coming years. So what are the novel structural measurements in the diagnosis and management of heart failure? Although major changes in the management of heart failure have occurred over the last 2 decades, it remains still a malignant disease. Patient present with extensive ventricular damage.
90% no है, but अगर 10% हुआ कुछ तो बोलो.
Patients present with extensive ventricular damage, whether ischemic or non-ischemic, to recognize and treat LV dysfunction. Various modalities what you have been hearing in this session, imaging session, like CMR, CTA, tissue Doppler, 2D strain, they're all used for assessment of heart failure. But nuclear techniques is the most popular. So what the clinician needs from a patient of established heart failure? Definitely detection and diagnosis, etiology, systolic versus diastolic, causes of heart failure, then ischemic versus non-ischemic, then severity, risk stratification, therapeutic guidance, that ejection fraction, filling pressure, detection and evaluation of functional MR, LV hypertrophy, and pulmonary hypertension. So what are the various nuclear techniques to assess patients with heart failure? Myocardial perfusion imaging with radio tracers used to differentiate, very simple, an ischemic from a non-ischemic etiology by doing a resting perfusion scan. But developments in measuring quantitative blood flow, that is PET-CFR or MFR, to provide an accurate determination of heart failure etiology. If CAD is established, MPI or PET scan are used for assessment of myocardial viability and identify patients likely to benefit from revascularization. In patients with heart failure who are not the candidates for revascularization, myocardial remodeling often leads to poor patient outcome. So newer nuclear tests like SPECT analyzes the myocardial shape, and desynchronous contraction or relaxation can risk stratify patients and may help to guide therapy. Cardiac, of course, after me, the talk is there. Cardiac autonomic innervations by PET imaging should expand the use of radionuclide imaging in heart failure. Use of radiolabel tracers in monitoring also stem cell transplantation. What is positron emission tomography? PET as a molecular imaging technique with various tracers, either in current practice or in the process of evolution, allows non-invasive evaluation of contractile function, myocardial perfusion, myocardial metabolism, myocardial innervation, inflammation, angiogenesis, cell death, and ventricular remodeling. It is a promising tool for understanding the physiological consequences of heart failure, resulting in early detection of patients with heart failure at risk, gives therapeutic strategy, planning, and treatment response in monitoring. So first, in the my thing is coronary artery disease and microvascular discussion, where you will not find any atherosclerosis or epicardial obstruction. PET stands as a gold standard for the quantitative measurement of myocardial perfusion and metabolism. PET perfusion traces like nitrogen-13 ammonia, rubidium 82, oxygen level 15 water, F18 PREDAS is a rising star, allows regional and global myocardial blood flow in millimeter per minute per gram at stress and at rest. So CFR, coronary flow reserve, measures not only vasodilator capacity, but also endothelial reactivity of coronary circulation, allowing patients with diffuse coronary luminal narrowing or microvascular dysfunction, which is highly prevalent among the risk individuals in the absence of overt atherosclerosis with adverse outcome. In patients with CAD, for example, a reduced coronary flow reserve is shown to have better prognostic implication as being a sensitive predictor for cardiac death as compared to reduced left ventricular global ejection fraction, which was there in the olden days. So we can give lot of information beyond ejection fraction, like coronary CFR, MFR, and other parameters. Patients with arrhythmias, particularly of post-MI and hemodynamically unstable patients. So how to calculate that, I will not go to detail. CFR for each myocardial segment is calculated as the ratio of segment of myocardial blood flow, either first with stress, pharmacological stress adenosine, then at rest. Then the CFR value should be normally 3.70 or from 2.80 to 3.70. So this is a patient where you can see that is called balance schema, where you can see the normal perfusion everywhere, but the myocardial flow reserve is low. Normal is more than 2.7. It is 1.4, 0.9. But these are the territories at stress and rest. And of course, the coronary flow reserve is less. And this is another patient where you can see normally the stress is a rubidium study. The anteroseptal, anterolateral perfusion area is normal. So you'll find, oh, there is no problem in LAD. But if you do the myocardial coronary flow reserve, then you can find the CFR is 1.07. Even if they are showing normal blood supply, normal stress, the blood supply. So PET in transplant vasculopathy following heart transplantation. What is that? Cardiac allograft vasculopathy is one of the leading causes of late mortality after heart transplant. Our transplant surgeons will come during the latter part of the day. So characterized by the diffuse concentric intima thickening of both epicardial and intramyocardial arteries, which is difficult to be assessed by traditional coronary angiogram. IVS will not be suitable to diagnose diffuse intimal thickening. It is very difficult. Stress MPI SPECT underestimates the disease severity and extent, but PET calculated myocardial flow using dynamic nitrogen-13 ammonia is thus clinically feasible by giving relative perfusion defects, myocardial flow reserve, mean stress myocardial blood flow, either use adenosine or dipentylrubidium 82 are the significant predictors of adverse outcome. So what is the new concept of sympathetic innervation imaging by PET tracers in viability study? So cardiac sympathetic neural dysfunction has been shown to be abnormal even in viable myocardium. If you say that, look, this person has got myocardial viability, that does not mean that the patient does not have neuronal dysfunction, which can cause subsequently arrhythmic events leading to sudden cardiac death. So newer PET agents such as C11 hydroxyephedrine, C11 CGP 12177, a beta adrenoreceptor antagonist, can visualize can visualize regional defects in myocardial sympathetic innervation, can pinpoint effectively as compared to iodine 133 MIBG imaging in the area of neural dysfunction, in spite of having viable myocardium. So neurohormonal and viability hibernation imaging may play a complementary role in defining and selecting patients who needs an urgent direct device therapy, that is CRT, which Dr. Pandurangi will be speaking on this in the latter part of the day. So here you can see the second row is showing a normal blood supply to all the myocardial segment, but the upper row saying there is a sympathetic denervation, there is a defect in inferior and lateral area, which shows there is a sympathetic denervation imaging with iodine 123 MIBG imaging. So role of PET scan in the assessment of myocardial viability in heart failure. So you know that viability directed revascularization would improve cardiovascular outcomes, reduce heart failure symptoms, reduce admission to the hospital, and improve quality of life. So what is the amount of minimum amount of viable myocardium, which can be calculated by PET or SPECT imaging as compared to other imaging modalities, is the threshold of 20%. 20% or above, if we do a revascularization, patient would get benefit. But less than that, optimum medical therapy will be the choice, or cardiac transplantation or stem cell therapy. So what are the radionuclides available? You know all. Most common is F18 FDG, rubidium 82, then F18 purpuridas. These are all radio tracers for PET viability imaging. So here you can see one patient having a resting perfusion defect in the septal wall and anterior apical wall. This is very interesting. After a PET study, the second row, which shows there is a metabolism in the anterior apical area, but there is no viability imaging, viability metabolism in the septal wall. So this can segregate which artery to be done and which artery is not to be done. So here this is a fixed defect, there is a match defect, stress resting perfusion defect at the anterior and apical wall, and also the defect also in the PET imaging, no metabolism. This is called a myocardial scar is there in the anterior and apical area. This is another patient, the poor ejection fraction 21%, and then you can see that the very good myocardial viability in the septal and the anterior wall, so that the doctor can go ahead, the cardiologist can go ahead and revascularize the LAD area. Role of PET post-imaging in myocardial remodeling. So non-invasive targeted MMP radiotracer imaging, left ventricular LV remodeling can be adopted in early phase of cardiac injury. MI results in the activation of the renin-angiotensin system. So matrix metalloproteinases, these are the family of proteolytic enzymes which get stimulated with the renin-angiotensin altered system, and then they break the degradation of the myocardial extracellular proteins and resulting in adverse cardiac remodeling. So LV, left ventricular remodeling, may be adaptive in early phase of cardiac injury. Continued remodeling is a pathologic process that is associated with poor prognosis and diminished cardiac function. MMP, matrix metalloproteinases, are a family of protein enzyme that in the degradation of myocardial extracellular proteins resulting in adverse cardiac remodeling. So what are the radioisotope? Indium-111 labeled MMP, RP, or technetium labeled MMP is and with the thallium or the cestambi are available. So the importance which I have told you, if you can say that the activation or uptake of MMP is more than 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks, then the remodeling chances will be much more and more. So here the clinical cardiologist should adjust the dose of ACE inhibitor so that it will prevent the remodeling. So here you can see this is the first week, second, third week. Here you can see a cold area on the thallium perfusion scan and a technetium MMP activity showing very good uptake. And the third one is the image fusion. So this MMP activity is there. If it will be persistently there for a longer time, more than 3 weeks, then the remodeling chance will be much more. So the cardiologist will be careful to adjust the dose of ACE inhibitor. Role of PET in angiogenesis. Angiogenesis occurs in response to ischemia or inflammation. It's a natural process, being a part of the healing process. The radiotracer used is F18 galacto-RGD in the endothelium of angiogenesis vessel. It is tagged and monitor the therapies aiming to stimulate angiogenesis in ISD and preventing the development of heart failure. So coming to the last slide, the AHA and the ACC guidelines, they have advocated the various stages of the disease of the heart failure, and every stage there is a potential role of PET imaging. That is A, B, C, D. So once the structural damage and other things will occur, PET, inflammation imaging, viability imaging, myocardial blockers, all these things are there. So concluding, advances in the application of cardiac PET may play an increasingly critical role in diagnosis, prognosis, and clinical treatment of cardiovascular disease. Molecular imaging approaches using PET could evaluate myocardial pathophysiology at different stages of heart failure. PET imaging procedures would answer questions such as etiology, PET can answer severity, reversibility of LV function, and prognosis and monitoring. So the development of various therapies, especially cardiac device therapy or angiogenesis or stem cell therapy, will require a combination of imaging, PET imaging and monitoring therapy, which should facilitate better clinical outcomes for heart failure patients. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.